We are going to move from a resilience to a natural brilliant state.
We're all here to move our Black communities forward.
We think our children have to have the best. It's all about discipline.
How are we going to discipline ourselves so that we're able to save, so that we're able to make good financial decisions?
Recognizing that there's a road ahead if you manage the road in front of you.
The decisions that you're going to be making today in your lives where it comes to money will affect you in the future.
Discipline is one of the things that we often learn, sometimes by our environment, or sometimes we're forced to do it, and sometimes we don't learn it at all.
Stores want to get us in and out and get our money, and that's it. It's a game, so you have to be really wise to the game.
Do you know what it costs to run your home on a monthly basis?
Land acknowledgement. As we gather together, we acknowledge the sacred land on which we reside. It has been a site of human activity for 15,000 years. This land is the territory of the Huron-Wendat and Petun First Nations, the Seneca, and most recently, the Mississaugas of the Credit River. The territory was the subject of Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement between the Iroquois Confederacy and Confederacy of the Ojibwe and allied nations to peaceably share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. Today, this gathering place is still the home of many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to work in the community on this territory. We are also mindful of broken covenants and the need to strive to make right with all our relations. Last but certainly not least, we acknowledge the people of African descent who were brought here against their own will or in search of a safe place to live their lives and raise their children. Reconnaissance des terres. En nous rassemblant, nous reconnaissons la terre sacrée sur laquelle nous résidons. C'est un site d'activité humaine depuis 15 000 ans. Cette terre est le territoire des Premières Nations Huron-Wendat et Petun, les Scéniques et plus récemment les Mississaugas de la rivière Crédit. Le territoire était sujet de l'alliance de la ceinture Wampum plat avec cuillère, un accord entre la Confédération Iroquois et Confédération des Ojibwe et des nations alliées à partager et à prendre soin pacifiquement pour les ressources autour des Grands Lacs. Aujourd'hui, ce lieu de rassemblement est toujours le foyer de nombreux peuples autochtones de toute l'île de la Tortue et nous sommes reconnaissants d'avoir la possibilité de travailler dans la communauté sur ce territoire. Nous sommes également conscients des alliances brisées et de la nécessité de nous efforcer de guérir toutes nos relations. Dernier point, mais non le moindre, nous remercions les personnes d'ascendance africaine qui ont été amenées ici contre leur volonté ou à la recherche d'un endroit sûr où vivre leur vie et élever leurs enfants.
This webinar provides illustrative information with respect to the subject matter covered and does not represent an official opinion or position of the Black Business and Professional Association. The BBPA makes no representations, warranties, or guarantees as to assume no responsibility for the content or application of the material contained herein, and especially disclaim all liability for any damages arising out of the use or reference to or lines on such material.
Wow, good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. How's everyone doing? How is everyone doing? I'm not sure if you can see me, but my name is Moy Fung, and I am your host for this morning's community space. Today, we have the awesome opportunity to speak with Ivor Christopher. He's from PACU, which is a Pan-African Credit Union initiative. I'm so happy to have all of you. Good morning from Zamani. I do want to take a moment, Ivor, I hope you don't mind. I just want to take a few seconds here just to say hello to all the guests that have joined. It's Saturday, and typically many people are resting today, right? So thank you so much for those of you who've taken the time to join us. to listen to this very important webinar. We will certainly learn a lot from the initiative, the PACU initiative, and I'm so glad that you've joined us. If you can just maybe share the link, Victoria, I'm not sure if you're able to just share the link in the chat. For those of you who have family and friends, maybe you can just share it with them. Thank you so much. Share it with them. We still have lots of time. We're here till about 11:30. And I just want to welcome Ivor to our stage here. Ivor, I'm just going to take the opportunity just to, number one, ask, how are you feeling today? How are you feeling?
I am feeling awesome and blessed. Thank you so much, Moy, for giving me this platform to present the Pan-African Credit Union Initiative. Thank you to the BBPA and Stephanie and Teresa and all of those who, Victoria, who help make this happen. What we're doing is something that is much needed in the community, and I'm just blessed to again be here this morning to convey our message.
I thank you so much for that, Ivor. You're absolutely amazing. I spoke with you briefly yesterday, and there's so much that I know that you have to share with us. And you shared quite a few things with me as well, just with your amazing background that you have here. I do want to just quickly read your bio, if that's okay.
Please do.
And interestingly enough, there's a portion that I can't see, but I will say that you're currently leading the Pan-African Credit Union Initiative, which is a group looking to establish a Black credit union in the GTA. How amazing is that?
So I'll just tweak that a bit. Not looking to establish, we will establish. Let me correct that. We will.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that correction, Ivor. And now you interrupted me. Now I've lost my train of thought. So you will establish the credit union initiative, which is a group looking to establish. Okay, so you sat on the board of other not-for-profit organizations such as Caravana Arts Group, Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce, and the Lions Circle Men's Association, timely lending out his expertise and skills to the Black community. Part of Ivor's success and makeup is his understanding of the power of teamwork. Ivor has 20 years basketball coaching experience, where he has coached youth teams to a national title and a couple of provincial titles. Ivor is nationally certified level 2 basketball coach and nationally certified level 1 basketball coach. Okay, so Ivor, I'm sorry, but I didn't know that about you. Thank you so much for sharing that. I know you have a strong financial background. Can you tell us a little bit about that before you go into your presentation?
So my financial background, I'm a CPA. I've been in accounting for about 30 years. Most of it has been in entertainment and the non-for-profit industry. I'm now currently the chief financial officer for Abiona Center, which is an agency that just recently formed between the Massey Center for Women and Humewood Home. Both agencies have been around for 100 years, and they serve women, pregnant women, early teens, and youth and infants. So I'm the chief financial,
That's absolutely incredible. And we're really glad that you're here to share with us today, and especially just using your level of skill sets and expertise to serve our community. So without further ado, Ivor, I do want you can take over the screen, you can do your presentation, and I look forward to seeing you in about half an hour once your presentation is over. And we're here to take questions, everyone. For those of you who are just joining, this is Ivor Christopher from PACU Initiative, the Pan-African Credit Union Initiative right here in the GTA. So thank you so much for joining. Ivor, go ahead and take the stage.
Okay. So again, thank you, ladies and gents, for joining us this morning. It's a pleasure to tell you what the Pan-African Credit Union Initiative has been up to. And this is just to give an update to the community, to those who haven't been following us. For those who have been following us, thank you. And the time is coming near where we would be starting off our or launching our credit union. So can you see my screen here?
Yes, we can.
Beautiful. So just give you a couple of table of contents, things that we're going to be discussing today. I'm just key messages, the ways for you to support. We're going to talk about the PACU leadership, our shared values, community engagement, key milestones, what's been in the headlines. I also want to talk about the steering committee and give homage to the steering committee. This is a group of people who've been diligently working to make this initiative go forward and happen. And they're a mix of people from both the Jamaican Canadian Association, the Afro-Caribbean Business Network, and the Lions Circle African Men's Association. So you have myself, who's the chair. You have Adoma Patterson, who's the vice chair. She's the former past president of the JCA. You have David Betty, our treasurer, who's also CPA. He's the current JCA president. You have Kelly Spence, who's in marketing, and she's also a director at the JCA. You have Benito Palomino, who's our legal advisor, a professional lawyer, and he's also a JCA director. And then you have Ryan Knight, and everybody should know Ryan Knight. He's one of the 100 most influential Black person in Canada, and he's the head of the Afro-Canadian Business Network. Now, we're also looking to involve other agencies, such as the BBPA, to get them involved, because this is truly a community initiative. So with that going forward, some people ask, what is a credit union? So Canada's credit unions put people above, and we're going with a credit union as opposed to a bank, because one, it's a lot easier to get a credit union license than it is a banking license. And also the way the credit union structure is set up, it's more of a cooperative, more of a community-based approach than a financial institution. Okay. Credit union, they're also full service financial cooperatives. And we provide checking, savings account, mortgages, business loan, financial education, and stuff just the same as a other banks. So we're able to provide the same same services and products as a full-fledged banking institution. And we're also able to do some other stuff that are more geared towards the community, such as financial literacy programs and other community-based programs. Okay, now the key thing is the credit union is owned by the members. Right. So once you open up an account with the credit union, you now become a member. Means you have ownership in the credit union. You have say. So when we have our AGMs, you have a vote. It will be just like, but when you become a member, it's just like buying into like a regular bank. So when you go and open up your bank account at RBC, you don't become an owner. You're just a number. You're just an account, a source of revenue for them. For a credit union, you're more than that. So you have more say, and each member has an equal say, right? So each account, one man, one vote, and that's the difference between credit unions and other financial institutions. So just to give you a little history for those who have not been following us, our steering committee was formed about 3 years ago. And the current members are the Lions Circle African Men's Association, the Jamaican Canadian Association, and also the Afro-Caribbean Business Network. The Afro-Caribbean Business Network joined us about a year after we officially formed. And it was decided at that time that, we needed a financial institution. This was just before the George Floyd situation happened. But we saw that, this was something that was really needed in the community. We really need an institution, financial institution, that understands our community. One of the biggest issues of financial issues presented to our community is the lack of access to capital. So this was an issue that we wanted to solve, a problem we wanted to solve. All right, so that's why we formed this, and it's more community-based. This is not about any individual person and increasing the wealth of a group of people. This is about increasing the wealth of the community and uplifting the community. So our key messages. We're a group of partners committed to advancing economic, social, and political power in our community. So understand this: if we want to increase our political power, we cannot do that unless we increase our economic power. That's where our political power comes from. So we gotta to have more of a say. And again, after the George Floyd movement, we need to rally, and we have been rallying, but we need to really have a concerted effort on the economic side in order to really have a true impact on what we say on the political side. So again, the steering committee was composed of those members that I mentioned before, and we've gone through all the hard work, all the slogging of getting the things together in order to apply for our license. So once we do get our license, which we hope to get later on in the year, then we would be able to serve the community. The deposits are insured by the Deposit Insurance Reserve Fund. This is something that's important these days when you saw the all the couple of banks failing in the United States. So the deposits are insured, and it's insured up to a maximum of $250,000. Okay, and again, research shows that credit unions play a critical part in providing financial services to communities that have been traditionally underserved and unbanked. And the profits that credit unions generated are used to provide innovative financial products for its members and fund new businesses, services, and support the community. And I think that is just self-evident, and this is the reason again why we are pushing forward for this, again, to uplift and move forward our community. So once we're approved, we'd be able to provide these and provide tangible economic growth for the Black community for generations to come. So one of the first things we did was back in early 2019, we did a survey. We sent out surveys into the Black community. We were looking to get at least 1,000 respondents, and we actually got over 1,000. We got 1,024, which is great, because that was the number we thought would help us really capture what it is that the Black community is looking for. And that's what we want to do. We want to give the Black community what they want, not what we think they need, right? So we did this survey, and I hope some of you on here participated in that survey. If not, we'll be doing another one relatively soon, just to gauge what has changed, because a lot has happened since 2019, as we all know. So what the survey did, it showed us really a lot of interesting things about the Black community. We are a lot stronger economically than we even think, and there were some interesting things that we got out. I'm going to show you some snippets of the results of that survey later on in this presentation. So, again, the PACU initiative is about shared economics, UJAMA. And, one of our main mandates, our main focus is building up and supporting businesses, Black businesses, specifically also small businesses. As mentioned, I've been an accountant for over 30 years. I had my own practice for about 5 years, about 15 years ago. And one of the things that I specialized in was business plans. And at one point in time, I was doing a business plan for a Black gentleman for a startup, a fine dining restaurant in Brampton. And I was doing a business plan for a white gentleman for a Moxie's type Roadhouse type of restaurant, also in Brampton. So I was, I'm comparing apples to apples. The business plan that I was doing for the Black gentleman for the fine dining was superior to the business plan that I was doing for the white gentleman, just based on the information that I was given and the support and the strength behind it. It was far superior. However, the hurdles and obstacles that we had to go through for that Black gentleman to get funding, to get the loan, was more than I had to go through with the white gentleman. And matter of fact, we didn't even get it for the Black gentleman. We got it for the white gentleman. And that just showed to me the inequality in our system. Okay, our system is, I would say it's culturally biased, our banking system. It's not necessarily racially biased, it's culturally biased. I was also the controller for the Italian Canadian credit union, so I understand how credit unions work, and I understand how banking works and lending works. And financial institutions, they only really see one color. They don't see black or white or red or yellow. They see green. That's the color that they see. When they give out the money, when they lend out the money, they want to make sure they get that money back. Now, the reason I say it's culturally biased, because the people who are doing the lending most likely do not look like us and do not come from our community. So they do not understand our community and things that we do. So therefore, they are culturally biased when they're lending out this money. So in order to mitigate what they don't know, they put forward these extra obstacles or extra mitigation efforts in order to minimize the risk that they don't. And that's why sometimes when you go in, you wonder why you have all these extra hurdles that you have to go through in order to get the funding and the monies, because they do not understand their community. They have a bias towards our community based on preconceived notions, or just basically the things that they don't know, or things they don't know about our community. And that's why it's not a level playing field for us, because of these cultural biases. So again, the reason for PACU now is we're taking away that cultural bias. We're going to have the same level of due diligence when it comes to funding. However, you know, we're going to be able to relate and understand what is going on, and therefore be able to assist the Black business. For example, if a white man goes into the bank to apply for a business loan for a hair salon, he would be seen differently than a Black man who goes in to apply for a loan for a barbershop. They will be seen different. We don't see that difference. As a matter of fact, we will be able to relate to that Black man or woman coming in for that loan. So that's why we are doing this initiative, to basically level the playing field. So again, we did we've done about 10 town halls to let our community know that we're coming. Because as I mentioned before, we're looking to establish, we will establish. So we want everybody to know that this is coming. As mentioned, we did the survey back in 2019 of about 1,023 individuals. And we've had dozens of conversations with people from all range of sectors. And what's been really interesting, surprising to me, is that not only are we getting support from those within a community, but we're also getting support from those outside our community. People are generally excited about this initiative from outside our community and want to see this succeed. So that for me has been very, very encouraging. And, you know, we've been talking to elected officials from all levels of government. Again, they've all been very supportive. And so, you know, when the time comes, we're banking on their support. And, you know, there's been a lot of newsworthy events and stuff that's been put in the press in the last couple of years about us, and also about, you know, highlighting the barriers that us as a community are facing in the financial sector. So these are just a snippet of some of the things that have that have happened in or been in the press in the last couple of years. There's been other stuff that's going on. There's constantly stuff that's being put in the press about either what we're doing or the barriers that the community is facing. So I'm just going to give you a few snippets of the results that we got from our survey. And again, they were quite interesting. So first off, it was just the demographic data on the population. So for age, we found that most of our population was between the ages of 41 to 70. That was the main age, with the median age being around 50 to 60. That was more or less the medium age. And then the majority of the household were 3 and above. Close to 70% of the households were 3 and above. And then also was very, very interesting was, as I mentioned before, the wealth that we have in our community. A good, almost 60% of the respondents have household income of 75K and over. Now, again, that has increased dramatically because of what happened with COVID. We found that with COVID and all the relief money that has gone on, and just the economies since COVID has increased, and I'm sure that those numbers have increased even more. I'm sure it's now probably closer to 70% of the respondents are 75K and over. And that was good to know. 61% of our respondents were full-time, which is good. And then a very small, minute percentages were either unemployed, student, retired, part-time, or homemakers. So that explains then the wealth. Our geographic data was kind of really split between Peel, Toronto, and Durham. So 40% of our respondents was from the city of Toronto, almost 30% was from Peel, 13% was from Durham, and then, Halton 3%, Hamilton 2%, and New York 6%. We had respondents from across Canada, but the majority of them came from these areas. And that kind of is where we see really where the population is concentrated. Peel, Toronto, and Durham. I know Durham is really rising right now in terms of the Black population. So this gave us a really good sense of where our people are situated. So we also did an economic impact study, and we found that based on a few assumptions, that after 5 years of operations of PACU being in business for 5 years, we would have inspired, or we would have empowered close to 80 new businesses to grow and be successful. That is not an insignificant amount. That's quite impressive. So after 5 years, we would have spurred on and encouraged the growth of close to 80 new businesses, which would then also create over 300 new jobs. And based on that, the commercial property taxes paid by those new businesses is over 1 million, over 1.1 million, which is good because now we're telling the government this is the impact that as a organization, as a financial institution, a Black financial institution, this is what we're going to have on the community. This is what we're going to put into your pockets, into your coffers. So property taxes, we're going to, so that's local property tax over 1.1 million. We're going to increase personal consumption by close to $40 million. We're going to increase personal taxes paid by over 11 million. HST collected close to 2 million. And in terms of new mortgages, and I mean brand new mortgages, we're going to be funding close to 80. So this is what the organization, based on the study that we did, this is going to be the impact of the Pan-African Credit Union. Now, these numbers were very conservative. Our assumptions were very, very conservative. I suspect it's going to be much greater than that, but we didn't want to get too wild with our assumptions. And so this is what just our very simple assumptions. This is the impact base impact that we're going to have on the economy. So this is going to be helping not just the Black community. This is going to be helping the community at large, right? So this is the kind of thing that our elected officials like to see and they need to see. This is how powerful the Black community will be or is, right? So right now we have completed our credit union application. We did it almost a year ago. We've been partnered with KPMG. They've been assisting us greatly with our application and our application process. I want to thank KPMG for coming on board and making sure that, you know, our package and what we're doing, our proposal, everything that we're doing is vetted and above board, and that, you know, we're on the right track. As mentioned before, part of what we did in our application, we've created a business plan, with a 10-year business plan. We've done a feasibility study to show that, yes, this is a viable and sustainable entity. We've done our organizational policies and bylaws, and we've done an org chart, and we've also appointed an inaugural board of directors. Now, right now, the inaugural board of directors, they're just basically they're helping us with the steering committee with our application. Once we get a conditional approval from FSRA, the Financial Services Regulatory Authority of Ontario, once we get our conditional approval, we will become a legal entity, and the board of directors will then take over and guide the organization towards launch. So I'm just showing you who the board of directors currently are. I have myself, David Betty, who I mentioned before, Benito Palomino, who I also mentioned, and Adoma Patterson. Also, we have Kurt Henry, who is a giant in the finance and investment banking industry. We have Wendell Clark. He's also been around a long time in the banking systems, and he's currently a project manager with a big 5 bank. Patrick Romain, he's a chief credit risk officer in banking. John Bennett, he's a senior banking executive also, and he's also helped other organizations with their credit union application. Tracy Hackett, who is a giant in sales and marketing in the banking world. Dwight Rogers, who's also great in terms of marketing and relationship marketing. Sharifa Wright, she is also a pillar in the Black community and in DEI, and she's a community advocate. Denise Cummins-Lucky, another legal and compliance expert. Luta Manzara, who's an up-and-coming young professional who has, you know, strong investor network, and Richard E. Austin, who has been also in legal governance in the banking industries. These are the inaugural board, and you'll hear more of that, you know, once we complete our FSRA application. So what are the next steps? So as I mentioned, we're right now working with the regulatory body. There's 3 phases in the application. There's the feasibility stage. We're going through that right now. There's the governance phase, and then there's the, I guess, the execution phase, for lack of a better word for it. So we're finalizing the feasibility stage with FSRA for them to check off that, you know, we are a feasible entity. Once we finish that, then we go into the governance stage in terms of making sure we have all the proper governing policies and bylaws in place. And then once that happens, they will give us our conditional approval. And then that's when we can transact and we can now move towards launching. And then we go into what, as I call it, the executory phase. And the executory phase is when we start now looking at launching getting the infrastructure in place. So finding location and making sure the infrastructure, the banking platforms, the online platforms are in place. And also we have to get the necessary investment and funding to make sure we have the capital to launch. The FSRA is requiring that we have at least $15 million in capital assets to launch, for $50 million investment. So that's why we're looking at here. We're looking to engage the community to get around 150,000 for sponsorship and donations to cover our startup costs. So between now and when we get our conditional license, we're going to spend a good bit of money, of that 150,000 just on, for example, websites, advertising. We have to start searching for our recruiting for, to staff up the credit union. So, there are going to be startup costs. And then once we get the conditional license, we're going to require a $50 million investment. And again, we're continuing dialogue with various levels of government. We're currently looking at for a location. Right now, the city of Toronto and the city of Brampton are very much interested in us putting our location there. So we're seeing where we get the best deal. And I know Durham is there, as we saw in our geographical map. So we're going to institute some talks with the region of Durham and see what they're saying. And then we're expecting a conditional approval, maybe, later on this spring, later on this summer is when we expect to get our conditional approval, and then we'll open doors later on in the fall. So this is just a breakdown again of our startup costs. Like I said, we got to do social media. We have our FSRA application costs. We have our website developments. We're also going to be, securing the efforts of assistants and consultants to help us along with our application. And then after we get approval, these are all monies that we're going to have to spend before we even open the door, on social media, our banking platform, staffing, location costs, consultants, and web development. So just being very transparent about what the money is going to be used for and, what we need in order to get this launched. Okay. Now, people may ask, how can I help support? So there's a number of ways. First off, you could go to our website, www.pacu.ca. You could click on our subscribe, on our subscribe button. And when you click on there, now you're in our database, and we do, quarterly newsletter. So just to let you know what's going on. Also, we'd be doing a pledge drive right now in terms of investment pledge, also business account pledge. Investment pledge is because we can't transact in cash right now, we're doing pledges. So you can pledge to say, I will invest X amount. The minimum investment is $100 up to $250,000 per person. And I will show you, there's a link to that. I will show you that. So you could pledge that, so therefore, when we do get our conditional approval, we could then go to the people who have pledged and says, hey, we're now able to take your money, and we're able to take your investment, and we move forward there, and we will have the infrastructure in place to manage the investment phase. And also, again, sponsorships and donations. We're going to be doing such a things like, build a brick, build a wall, to show, those who have helped us in the infancies and in the start, and such. So these are places you can go to find out what's going on. Now, if I'm going to leave this here for a second, click on this QR code. This will take you to our investment pledge. So if you're interested, this will take you directly to our investment pledge form, and you could fill out the form and submit it. And so now your pledge is complete. So I'm going to leave that up there for a few seconds, so people could use it, could click on the QR code. Okay, I'll move on. So again, this is the call to action as mentioned before. We would like people to pledge due to the investment pledge. Also, I didn't mention the business account pledge. So again, we're looking to support small businesses. So one of the things we can show is that there is a support for that to FSRA. So if we can get you to pledge that, you know, once we open our doors, that you're going to help support us by, you know, saying, you know, 50% of your operating funds will be in PACU. That would be great, because then we could show the FSRA, the banking authorities, yes, we do have the support of the Black business community, and they will be supporting us by putting their operating funds in the Pan-African Credit Union. And that is it. I have a small video that I would like to show you.
Did you do the sound?
Are you getting the most out of your financial institution? Credit unions have a rich history of giving back to their members and supporting the communities in which their members live and work. They help build financial health through professional advice and provide quality-driven investment products. So you may be saying to yourself, well, my bank already does a lot of that. Can we be honest for a moment? While other financial institutions may have a variety of services, their primary focus is on the return for their shareholders. Credit unions deliver for their members. They invest their profits in member-focused programs, including a delivery of innovative financial products and sponsoring community programs. That's good. But what about our community? Good question. According to the National Credit Union Association, it states that, and I quote, minority-owned and managed credit unions play a critical role in providing financial services to communities that have been traditionally underserved or unbanked. So who is PACU? Great question. The objective of the PACU initiative is to establish an alternative banking option informed by the principles of cooperative economics to better serve diverse Black communities in Ontario. The vision is to become the primary financial institution for the African diaspora in Canada, from helping people manage debt through financial literacy to supporting access to capital for small businesses. When the doors open on day one, we intend to offer deposit accounts and lending services. We are committed to supporting inclusivity, equity, and fairness for our members. We see you. Does the PACU initiative need help? To finalize the application with the governing body, the Financial Services Regulatory Authority of Ontario, the PACU initiative will need community support. So how can I support the PACU initiative? To borrow from an African expression, it takes a village to raise a credit union. Well, that's not quite the expression, but I think you know what we mean. This is the village. This is the call. Please contact us at info@pacu.ca. That's info@pacu.ca to find out how you can support the PACU initiative through business account pledging, investment pledging, sponsorship opportunities, or just good old-fashioned donations. Please contact us at info@pacu.ca. That's info@pacu.ca to find out how you can support the community's financial future. The Pan-African Credit Union Initiative, building wealth through unity.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. That is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. You know what? I just want to, that's quite an incredible feat, Ivor. For those of you who are here with us today, who's just listened through this whole presentation, please, let's just send some virtual emotions to Ivor for the incredible work that he and his team are doing. This is quite incredible. It's definitely an amazing feat, and I'm sure that it's not easy, right? Someone asked in the chat, has this type of initiative been done before?
So JCA, I believe, had a credit union back in the early 90s. But they had to shut it down, and through some very unfortunate events, they were going along fine, doing what they were doing for their members, the JCA membership. And I don't know who was around at that time, but this was just before Harris took over. The previous premier, I'm drawing a blank. I know his name, I see his face. Anyways, the NDP, when we had the NDP government, they encouraged the JCA. Bob Ray, thank you very much. Bob Ray was a big supporter of the Black community in the Jamaican Canadian Association, and he wanted us to expand and serve the greater Black community. So they put in place things to do it, and the JCA credit union then went ahead based on that commitment from Bob Ray, and expanded their operation greater than what they were currently doing, and they expended a lot of money doing so. Then, of course, what happened was Bob Ray, they lost out to Harris, and I would say Bob Harris. When Harris came in, they immediately shut that down, which basically chopped the legs out from under the initiative that they were going forward to make this for a greater, an institution for the greater good of the community. And by doing so, it was a death knell for the organization. So that was the unfortunate event that happened. It was not through any mismanagement. It was just, they went far beyond their means based on the promises they got from the government, and then, got their legs cut out from under them. And you're correct. That is a lesson learned, which is why we are a non-political institution, and we're being wise about what we're doing, which is why, again, we're looking to the community for our investment. And we're not necessarily looking to get all our funding from the government. We still want them to have some skin in the game. We still want them to support us, but it's not going to be the be all end all.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. And we do keep your questions and your comments coming. I see a lot of engagement in the chat. Thank you so much for that. I have a whole bunch of questions for you, but there are some of them that have actually been asked in the chat as well. Now, what are your plans? This was one of the questions that was in the chat. What are your plans for extending this beyond the GTA to other provinces?
Well, good question. This is one of the reasons why we came up with the name Pan-African Credit Union. We really worked diligently and hard on the name, because we wanted to make sure that it spoke to not only our community. We're not a monolith community. So we wanted to make sure it spoke to our entire community and our entire diaspora wherever they are. So it's not the Black Ontario Credit Union, you know what I mean? We said Pan-African. That includes all our diaspora across Canada and across the world. Now, in terms of Canada, right now we're applying for an Ontario license, a provincial license. So we will be able to establish and do business here in Ontario. When the time comes, when we have enough assets under management, as they call it, basically money, we can apply for what they call a federated credit union. And then that now encompasses all of Canada. But one of the key things that we also are looking at is doing affiliations with our diaspora around the world. So we want to help our businesses establish trade and business with, Africa, the motherland, and also with the Caribbean, and also wherever there are pockets of Black people. We need to start working directly with each other wherever we are, as opposed to going through intermediaries, right? Because that's where our strength is. We got to start working together wherever we are. So that is our plan. Ontario, then, once we get big enough, then Canada, and then we're looking at the rest of the world. And again, this is why we have the name and that we have, because then it's easily transferable when we do grow.
Thank you so much for that. I'm personally curious to know, why didn't we do federal? And I say we because I believe you said it takes a village, and we're we're all a part, right? So
very simple. To get a federal banking license or charter is extremely difficult.
Okay.
Right now,
okay.
it's very hard. It's a lot easier for us to get a Ontario credit union license than a federal license. It takes a lot. It takes and of course also it takes a ton of money.
Certainly. Thank you so much for that. The other questions that I'm just addressing the questions. These are not my questions, but what sort of technology will PACU implement to stay competitive in the financial space? I think that's a very good question. That's actually very similar to the one that I had.
Actually, a great question. Thank whoever asked that question. See, now, because we're starting fresh and brand new,
yes,
we can have all the bells and whistles. We're not coming with any legacy systems or baggage as other institutions have. So we can get all the latest technology, and that's what we want to do. We're going to be a mainly online service. We're going to have our physical locations here in the GTA, but there's also large pockets of our community outside of the GTA. We have in London, we have in Sudbury, Sault Ste. Marie, in Windsor, in Ottawa, and all points, Collingwood. We have pockets of our Black community all over the place, and we want to be able to serve them as if they're right here in the GTA. To do so, we need the technology. So we are going to have it. So online is going to be very huge for us. Again, because we are brand new, it's not going to cost us a lot. It's going to be very easy for us to adopt all that technology and use it, because we don't have any legacy systems that we have to convert over. That's where a lot of the money is spent in these financial institutions, in terms of getting up to date with new technology, because they have all these established existing systems, and they gotta convert that to the new technology. We don't have that problem right now. So we're good, and that's going to be one of our advantages.
That is incredible to hear. Thank you. Did you want to finish that thought, or?
No, I mean, just that, again, people could be anywhere and be able to access their account and do business with us.
Certainly.
And then also, if they want to come in and see us, we will have locations here in the GTA. And also, we're also
no, go ahead. Sorry.
We're also looking at other communities like Ottawa. There's a large section of us in Ottawa and Windsor and London. So I think after 5 years, we will plan to expand and put locations in those communities.
Thank you so much for that. That was from Grantley Adams, by the way. So kudos to you, Grantley, for the excellent question. We've been talking a lot about technology lately, so this is certainly a relevant question. Customized home care. How many members are needed to get a critical mass to launch the credit union?
According to our projections, we hope to have, by the end of our first year, close to 40,000 members, both personal accounts and business accounts. At the end of our first year, about 40 to 45 members, right? To start, we're looking at about, like day one, we're looking at about 15 to 20,000.
15 to 20,000 people. Okay.
Now,
Mhm.
that sounds like a big number, but really it isn't. Like there's over 100,000 of us just in the
Yeah.
GTA.
Yeah.
When you include the Greater Ontario, it's a lot more than that. So we're roughly looking to capture in the first year about 1.5% of the Black community.
Certainly. Now, here's another great question from Grantley Adams. He says, if we're aware of systemic racism, that it exists within Canada or Canadian banking, how can we avoid regulators from drowning this initiative through regulation?
Good question. You know, that was an issue that I thought we would run into. And at first, when we spoke with the regulatories, they were kind of hesitant. Again, this was more of a cultural bias than a systemic bias. But then once they saw the support and that stick-to-itiveness of our group, the regulatory body has been very much behind our initiative. They are really supportive. And then again, going through the pandemic and the George Floyd and everything else, there's been a heightened awareness of what we're doing. Also politically, you know, we're knocking on those political doors to make sure that they know what we're coming and what we're doing. So politically, it's very good for them to be seen to support our initiative. So in terms of obstacles right now, we haven't really run into any. We're just, again, we've gotten full support of the FISRA, and also we have KPMG who's on board helping us with our application, and that has been invaluable because they've done a number of actual banking applications and licenses that they've helped. So they're pulling on their experience from the banking side, and they've really been helping us with our application to help mitigate those obstacles.
Very nice. Thank you so much. Question here. I'm going to get a question from Grantley Adams again, who says, you're a good man for undertaking this, Ivor. And he's in fintech, and he says that he can't really stand the regulation, but it hampers innovation, which is the cornerstone of fintech. So not really a question, but do you have anything that you'd like to weigh in on that particular comment?
Yeah, I understand what Grantley is saying. Yeah, they are not really supportive. I should say supportive. They are not, they're wary of anything new. The regulatory bodies is. For example, one of the things that we're looking at doing, one of the new products we want to bring in is what we call a rotational account. And I think Alterna does it already. And for those, I call it rotational account, but I'm Trini. So for us Trini, we call it Susu. For you Yachties, you call it partner. You know, so we want to institutionalize that concept. Thank you. And you know, we call a rotational account. So it's just the same thing. Now we're going to actually have a product that does that, right? So these are kind of things that we're going to be institutionalizing or bringing forward with PACU. That, you know, again, it's that cultural knowledge and bringing in something that for us we already know and we use. For other cultures or for the mainstream bank, they don't want to do it because it's something new, and they don't really, it's not their cup of tea because it's small potatoes for them, right? And then they're not going to waste resources doing those kind of things.
Certainly. So someone asked, Narissa Allen, in the interim, can someone be a member if they reside outside of Ontario?
Good question. Actually, yes, they can.
What does that require?
Again, just we're going to be online, so you could go online and fill out when we're ready, you know, application, just like how you could go and fill out an application for Tangerine and stuff like that. You could actually go, you'll be able to go online and fill out an application and have an account. Now, previous to April 1st, 2021, you couldn't do that. It had to be somebody in Ontario, but the Credit Union Act for Ontario changed, and now they're allowing for people outside of Ontario to have accounts. The only thing is we cannot go into other provinces and advertise and set up businesses. We can't do that because then we're violating the sovereignty of that province and their regulatory body. So we can't go to Quebec or Alberta and say, hey, yeah, join PACU and stuff like that. We can't do that. But if people from Alberta or Quebec want to join PACU here in Ontario, they can.
Certainly. Thank you so much for that. That's a really good to know. I presume that because it's in Ontario that you need to have an Ontario address in order to do that. So thank you so much. Now, is there a membership fee? I know this is a credit union and typically there are fees.
So there's a membership fee. It's going to be $50. So you pay your $50. That's like also buying a share in the organization. So that's going to be your membership fee. And that gives you all the rights and privileges of being a member of the credit union. So your voting rights, also, it gives you, like when we do well, when we make profits, which we will, you get a share of that also. So yes, there will be a one-time $50 fee.
Certainly, no, that is really good. So one-time $50 fee. So that's up on, if I can remember, because I do have a couple accounts with the credit union. Once when you open the account, it's upon opening the account that you pay that fee, and then that's it.
That's it. Yes.
So there are no monthly fees, okay, or anything
Well,
like that.
there would be monthly fees depending on the account and the plan. We're going to have different plans and accounts, just like a regular bank, right? But there will be that one-time
membership.
fee,
Yeah,
membership fee.
perfect.
Correct.
Thank you so much. Now, any other questions, feel free to put in the chat. Now, since, we have a hand up, we'll take that. And if we've run out of questions, I'll go to mine. Some of them have been taken by you individuals in the chat there, but thank you so much for the engagement once again. Sankofa, did you want to, are you able to open your mic and ask that question that you might have?
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good.
Good morning, Sankofa. How are you doing? It's good to see you again.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. Just a quick question.
Sure.
Since we say Pan-African, but I'm curious, when we come to membership, if I'm not Black, if I'm from another culture, can I still join? How does that work?
Okay, so yes, when we applied as a cultural-based credit union, meaning that our cultural base is the Black community, and that was our criteria and eligibility to be part of, to get our license. Now, according to the Credit Union Act at the time, when we were originally applied, 97% of our membership had to come from that cultural eligibility or cultural criteria. So basically, the Credit Union Act was saying 97% of our membership had to come from the Black community, the Black diaspora, and we were allowed up to 3% from any other cultural entity. Now, as of April 1st, 2021, that has changed. However, we are still, we are still looking at that because we are still trying to keep that criteria because we are serving the Black community. Not to say that we're not, we don't want to help other communities, but this is, or that we won't take their money or whatever. But this is really for the Black community to help us help each other. And this is no slight against the other communities, but this is really truly an initiative, a movement for us to help each other. I hope that answered your question.
Well, yeah. So then a sidebar would be, what are the governing structure? Since it's cultural. So now this would be my deeper concern. So will the governing structure remain Pan-African? Because that's when anybody could come in.
Yes.
and destroy an organization.
That's
I
exactly.
understand. I understand where you're going with that, and I could tell you the inaugural board of directors reflects exactly what I just said, and not only the board, the governing board, but also the staff. We would like to reflect that. You know, we don't want to, you know, get into any discretion, or, you know, what do they call it now? Any untowards in hiring practices or anything like that, but we would like people who look like us serving our community.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right? I think that's very important.
Yeah.
That when people walk into our establishment and see our establishment, they see somebody who looks like them. I think that's extremely important.
Absolutely. Thanks. Thank you for that question, Sankofa. Very, very, very pertinent questions that you're asking there. An individual, Customized Home Care, wants to know if any of the chartered banks have affiliate programs that could assist with the 15 million capitalization.
Say that again. Sorry, can you repeat that question?
Do any of the chartered banks have affiliate programs that could assist in the 15 million capitalization?
So actually, one of the board members, we're going to start establishing contact with some of the other established banks to see if they are stuff like that. We don't really want to be affiliated with any of these chartered established banks. You know, basically what Sankofa was talking about, because then we become tied to their practices and stuff. So we don't really want to get tied to any particular bank or chartered credit union. I mean, chartered bank, because that's the reason why we are being formed. This is the reason why we're launching, because they're not doing the job that they're supposed to for our community, right?
Yeah.
So we don't.
Go ahead.
So we don't really want to get tied to any particular banks, but, you know, in terms of the investment, we will talk to them and see if they're, you know, any of the charter banks can help us with that investment. We will explore those. We are actually exploring those avenues. But again, we do not want to get tied down to any particular banks, because again, this has to be something that is run and generated and formed from our community. So sorry, you were going to say something more.
No, that's fine. I think I was just going to sort of piggyback with the question that from Michael Charles that says, what do we have in place to ensure the longevity of the credit union from generations to generations? And I think, Ivor, you've sort of answered that in the past couple of questions. Is you're being mindful. We're being very mindful of who we're associated with, in alliance with, so that we can control the money, right? Control what goes on in there. But you can go ahead and just.
Yeah. And part of what we're doing is we've got this really great inaugural board of directors, but we're also very mindful of future board iterations. So we're also looking at succession planning and future leaders of the organization. So it's not just who's going to be running it right now for the next 5 years. We're also going to be looking at down the road. And that also goes into our strategic plan, as I mentioned before, of not only just in Ontario, but also Canada and globally. So we're very mindful of that. And, you know, we have various people in various stages in their careers on the board, so that there is a constant, you know, we see that there is this constant growth and flow. So it won't be just one set of people running it, you know, forever and amen. No, we don't see that. You know, this is like my baby. I'm going to help birth it, but at some point in time, I'm going to leave that baby. It's going to be grown up. It's going to be in its teenage years, and I'm going to let them do their thing, you know, and I'm going to move on and let somebody else run the show or somebody else do it. And I think that's very, very important. And that's the mindset we have. And also one of the reasons why this is a community-based initiative. You know, we have the JCA, we have ACBN, hopefully we will have more involvement from the BBPA, the Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce, the Lions Circle African Men's Association. This is a community based, so it's not just one group in control or whatever. It's the community.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the what I love about credit unions is because it is community based. I mean, the experiences that I've had as being a member of Alterna Savings is nothing like, and I've been with TD Bank for far more, you know, for over 30 years, far longer than I've been with Alterna Savings. And I really do get that sense of community, that sense of family, you know, and a lot of the red tape is removed. So, you know, I've known, you know, Jean and Susan for quite some time.
Yeah,
and you
Susan,
go in,
yes.
you know, you go in and you have a check that they've never seen before, and it's a few $1,000s, and you know what I mean? Like it really does make a difference in terms of how we bank. And I think we need to, as a community, in my opinion, I think we need to get back to that sort of that village feel.
Yes.
You know, like we're taking care of each other. And
okay, I'm glad you brought up that point, Moy, because it's a point I always make, and I want everybody to understand this. So again, when it comes to, like, for example, you come in for a business loan, you come in for a mortgage or something or the other, you come to PACU, right? So you come in and you apply and you put forward your proposal, your business proposal, your business plans, and so on and so forth. Now we're going to have the same due diligences as the other financial institutions. So there are going to be some that are going to be declined.
Yeah.
Invariably, that's going to happen. What's going to be different for us that other institution is, we're going to be there to help you. Our second mandate is to increase the financial literacy of the Black community. As a community, we need to increase our understanding of money, how money works and how to make money work for us. We really need to increase our level of financial literacy, and we're going to be helping to do that. So say, for example, you know, a person comes in and they are declined. So what we're going to do is we're going to say to them, look, here are the reasons why you were declined. A, B, C. These are the reasons why you were declined right now. We need you to fix ABC, and to fix ABC, we need you to do X, Y, Z. So we're going to tell them exactly why they were declined and what they need to do to rectify that situation. And we're going to say, you know what, come back to us in 6 months to a year. We need you to do X, Y, Z, and hopefully you are a member of the Pan-African Credit Union. We will be monitoring you. We'll be checking up on you every now and then to make sure you're doing X, Y, Z, so that when you come back in 6 months to a year, you're in a better position to be successful. That's what we're going to do differently, because the other institutions don't do that. They just send you a letter or whatever saying, sorry, you were declined, you know, better luck next time. And that's it. Move on to the next person, the next application. We're going to be a little bit different that way. And as you said before, help the community.
Certainly, that sounds very, very amazing in my opinion. And the reason for that, because you talk about the cultural biases, right? And one of the things I was going to mention earlier was just what you said, was the financial literacy, because oftentimes it's not because you know, we've qualified for a loan and being denied for it. It's because we are not in the financial position to obtain a loan. And with that being said, financial literacy for many of us, especially if you're from the Caribbean, it's not what is taught in the home, unfortunately. It's not taught in the home and it's not taught in schools. So PACU, is what you're saying, has that responsibility now of creating that sort of environment where you're able to educate on financial literacy and get people up to par, you know, so that they can obtain loans to do the things that they want to do.
Yeah.
Right?
So not only will we be helping our members, but actually the community at large, because we'll be running financial literacy programs. We have set up a foundation. So we're going to be doing programs for the community for free through the foundation, so that, you know, especially helping out the youth. It starts with the youth. So from the grassroots, we're going to be doing financial literacy programs to help build up that wealth of knowledge in the community.
Well, this certainly sounds very, very refreshing to hear. I have a question here that says, with the impeding changes in the financial system, how well is PACU positioned to deal with the inevitable challenges?
So that's a very broad question. So what do you mean by the impeding changes? Like there's changes consistent. That's one thing that is consistent, is change. So can you be more specific in terms of which impeding changes that we're talking about?
Sure. And while they are able to add to that, maybe we can just, are there any, one of the questions were any fees, any minimum sort of fees to pay to open an account? I'm looking for the question.
So the minimum fees, again, there's a one-time fee of $50 to open up as a membership fee. And then, you just like any other bank, you choose whichever plan that you want, and there will be a monthly fee, or maybe not, depending. That will be associated, because for example, for seniors and for students, we're going to have those either free or, close to free accounts for students and seniors. And then depending on the accounts that, a plan that you have, there'll be associated fees for those.
Okay, so just the question is there a minimum dollar amount to start? So we know that there's a membership
$50.
fee, but apart from the membership fee, anything that I believe it's in Jamaica, if I'm not mistaken, it's been a while, it's been a couple years actually. There's like a minimum amount you have to have in the account in order to start it. So this is regardless of the membership fee. There might be, so there's no minimum amount to have.
For now, let me get back to you on that. I'll talk to my team, but for now, come with your $50, and a $5-10 will start off your account. As far as I know right now, we haven't really put that in place.
Yeah.
But I'll get back. I'll go to the team and see if we want to put something there like that. But for right now, no.
Perfect. I did see a hand up. Thank you so much, Ivor. I really appreciate you tackling all the questions that come coming at you. And please feel free. We do have about 10 more minutes. Feel free to ask your question. iPad, Odessa iPad, if you want to kind of elaborate on that question, feel free to do so. He's more than willing to answer. I'm not sure if the hand went down. Let's see. I don't see the hand anymore, but what security, Ali wants to know, what security do you have in place in terms of hackers and bank robbery? Now, I did see your budget earlier on your website, and I'm assuming a lot of that has to do with all the security measures that you will take.
So that is going to be tantamount to us getting set up. We're going to have the banking platform set up, and it's not cheap. I think, I had it up before. It's, when we get it launched, it's going to cost close to $500,000 to set up the banking system, the online system, the banking system, and the clearance system, everything. We're going to spend close to $500,000 to set this up. And so that's going to be, cybersecurity and privacy is going to be, a great part of that, a great deal of that. To make sure that, those things do not happen, and we're going to have our IT department and our risk department that are constantly monitoring those.
Okay, thank you so much. Will balances be insured? If so, to what maximum?
Okay, so I mentioned it earlier, and I'll mention it again. It is insured by, I think it's DRIF, and excuse me, it's insured up to $250,000. Oh, excuse me, sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay. We appreciate you still taking the time.
No,
I'm
more than happy to answer all these questions.
Okay, and someone wants to know, how long does the regulatory approval typically take for provincial approval? So this is what we're waiting for FSRA,
yes.
right?
So yes. So let me give you some background history on that. FSRA, up until last year, FSRA had not approved a credit union license in over close to 16 years.
Wow. Do you know why?
Because the credit union and banking industry had been going through this constriction, right? A lot of credit unions were, for lack of a better word, they were failing. And the reason why is because, think to 20, 30 years ago, a lot of these credit unions were really, I would call it micro-local entities, meaning that they were for a specific community in a specific area. So for example, you have the Peterborough Farmers Credit Union.
Yeah.
Right? So you have Peterborough Farmers Credit, so farmers in Peterborough. Now, 30 years ago, that was fine. There's a lot of farming in Peterborough. Now, Peterborough is a vibrant community, residential community, a growing residential community. So there's not a lot of farm. So therefore, that credit union, its base has shrunk. So now there is I just made this up. So not everybody, oh my goodness, Peterborough Credit Union, Farmers Credit Union. I just made that up. But,
thanks for that disclaimer.
so that kind of entity now is their base is shrinking. So therefore their viability has become that they're very tenable. So those kinds of credit unions were being basically absorbed by people, credit unions like Alterna and Meridian, and they were being absorbed. So there was not a lot of credit unions that were being given new licenses because there was a lot of credit unions that were there that were having issues. And FSRA is very, very discouraging to new applications. However, because things have changed and banking has changed, they're now looking at growing. They believe things have leveled out and settled. Now, FSRA and the banking community is looking at measured growth. Right? They're looking at measured growth now. And this is a great area for them to grow because it's a community that is very, very vibrant and untapped. So they're looking at, the Black community now, and us being one of the initiative that's doing that.
No.
So I hope I answered that question. I know I kind of rambled a bit, but I hope I answered that question.
No, you certainly did. Well, I think you did. I'm going to ask this other questions. And by the way, I absolutely love all of you who are in the chat asking these incredible questions. I have iPhone who's asking, I wish I knew your name, iPhone. Will there be investments available, or is the model savings a savings loan one?
So yeah, we're going to have mutual funds. The basic investment model that there is with banks right now, your mutual funds, RSPs and RESPs. We're going to have those, either upon launch or soon after. And then maybe later on we'll get into like self-directed investments, like like the Q trades and the Quest trades and stuff like that. We'll get into those later on. So people who want to, invest those ways, we're gonna be doing those. We'll also explore. We'll take the temperature of our membership to see if there's any other non-traditional ways that would benefit our community. Again, getting back to cultural differences. So we'll look at non-traditional ways, but again, being a financial institution, and we'll have to do our due diligence and make sure that also it passes the smell test with the regulators.
Okay, perfect. So I think the question, she's clarifying impending, not I believe it was impeding before, impending changes in the currencies, devaluation. Oh man, my screen is.
So are we talking more about like cryptocurrencies and stuff like that? So
yes, cryptocurrencies, the move of government.
Yeah, so we are not going to be touching cryptocurrencies to launch, or I don't want to say we won't at all, because we don't know what the future holds, right? Where 10 years from now, cryptocurrency could be one of the main currencies or the main method of transacting, right? But right now, where it stands, Paku will not be getting into cryptocurrencies at the beginning. No, it's too right now. It's too fluid, and like in the last 2-3 months, there's been a couple of major collapses on the cryptocurrency side. So I'm a very conservative person. and you know the nature of
the both of us.
yeah. So I do not like to subject myself, or I would not like to subject the community to something that's very uncertain and very fluid. That would not be very prudent. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Carolyn Power, thank you so much for your question earlier. And Ajoba says, don't touch it. You're right. It still has major learning curves to survive. So
Yeah.
I'm dabbling in it a little bit, but we'll see. We'll see how that turns out. We have time for just a couple more questions, maybe one or so. Please feel free. Ivor, you've been great. Yes, you've been.
No, please. Yeah, please. I'm great. I love these questions, right?
Yes,
Because
yes,
again,
been...
this is for the community, and you know, as I'm here today to help increase awareness of what we're doing so that people know, and please, people, pass the word on. Let people know. It was really great. I went to an event just before Christmas, and I would say out of 10 people I spoke to, about 5 to 6 already knew about PACU, and that was great to hear, because if I went to an event over a year ago, that number would have been 2. So it's good to know that the word's getting out.
Nice, nice. Now we have, how will you base your interest rate? That's one question.
Okay, so just like any other bank, we're going to set a prime lending rate, and then the lending rate is going to, from that, that's going to dictate what the lending rate are for the various products. So you have the Bank of Canada rate, and then we're going to set our prime lending rate based on the Bank of Canada rate. And then based on our prime lending rate, you know, it's going to affect, you know, commercial mortgages, residential mortgages, lines of credits, and so on and so forth.
Perfect. And I'm not sure how to pronounce that name. Diaker wants to know, what is your plan B if the license doesn't come through?
There is no plan B. We're getting it. That's why I said we will establish it. It's going to happen.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I know. I understand where he's coming from.
100%.
I understand, because I always like to have a plan B, but there is no plan B, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that there are no reasons, as long as you've done all of what you need to do, there's no reasons to deny such a license. I don't know. I think we're all out of questions. Everyone that's in the chat that has taken an hour and a half out of your Saturday morning to join us today to listen to this incredible and informative session on how we can better advance the Black community. Can I just hear from you in the chat? How did you enjoy yourself today? Was this not, I mean, I certainly am informed. I'm certainly a part of this team, Mr. Ivor, just so that you know, okay? And I will definitely be opening an account as well once you go live. So let me know in the chat, what are your thoughts of this session? Have you heard about PACU before today? Is it today your first time hearing about PACU? The chat is kind of quiet. Let's hear. Outstanding. You okay? New hearing about it. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for joining. And thank you to the BBPA for having these incredible sessions, you know, just informing the community of all the wonderful work that's being done. You joined late. Are you going to share the information on the BBP website? There definitely is. That's usually the aim, is to share the recorded sessions on the website. I'm not sure when this one will be uploaded, but it is recorded. You can check out Ivor. He's just put their info at pacu.ca, so pacu.ca. Thank you, Johnny Barton, sorry, for sharing that. Thank you. I have a touch screen, and every time I touch it, it just goes something else. Self-reliance is a must, is what we're hearing. Incredible work, Ivor. I'm so happy to have spoken with you today. Thank you so much for the team and just the hard work and the heavy lifting that you've been doing for many months, and you're still doing it, right?
Yes.
You're still working and so forth. So thank you so much for that. I heard of PACU at the JCA. Well done. Very nice. And The other comment is very informative and certainly looking forward to banking with my community. I'm right with you, Rue Maynard. Thank you so much. Well, I think we've gotten to the end of our session here. Ivor, it's been a blast to speak with you and just to hear the information that you had to share with us today. Please keep in touch with us here at the BBPA. We hope to have you again. I really hope that this will happen soon. I'm excited for it. I'm excited about the work that's ahead. And I want to thank you once again for the audience members who's taken the time out today to join us. This has been incredible. Thank you so much for your time on behalf of the BBPA. My name is Moi Fung, and I just have a couple announcements before I close off. There are some more information sessions that are coming our way in the upcoming weeks, and I'd like to share that with you. So financial planning is happening with Wayne Harris on Tuesday, March the 21st at 2 p.m. And that is hosted by our Sani Edwards, sorry. And registration is closed for this event. So that's our level up session. And on, I believe, the next Black Women in Trades, I have the awesome opportunity to speak with Black Women in Trades as we continue our celebration for Women's International Month. That is March 22nd on Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I believe we have another, yes, okay. So next week, Saturday, March 25th at 10 a.m. Impact RRSP contributions, writing off eligible business expenses and other personal tax planning considerations. That is with Ken Green, partner and tax advisor at GMS Professional Corporation, some amazing friends of ours as well. Thank you so much for all of you who have joined. Thank you so much, Papu. Thank you, Ivor. It's been incredible to be with you this Saturday morning. God bless you, and we will see you next week.
Thank you all. And thanks again to BBPA for giving me the platform. Thank you very much.
Thanks again, Ivor. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Community Spaces, the financial literacy program that speaks and reaches the community. Are we going to be in a better place, or are we going to be still, quote unquote, behind the 8 ball?
Because of the historical disadvantage that our community has, we most times do not have financial role models. Without that, economically and financially speaking, we'll always be at the bottom.
Keep proper books and record, because the data drives the strategy and the strategy drives the profits.
COVID-19 sort of removed a veil. It's really exposed the structural barriers that our communities face.
These last 2 years, where there's been a heightened emphasis on the well-being of Black people, has influenced the influx of funds and opportunities. The time is now. How long is that window going to be open?
We'll see you next week. And don't forget to tell a friend to join us here on Community Space.